Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Ravenclaw channel, and today we are going to go through a 5-mask horrific vision, and I wanted to do this with a bit of commentary over the top to sort of talk about what I did right, what I did wrong, and hopefully this will help you in achieving your 5-mask clear solo. Obviously you can do this in a group, and it's probably going to be much quicker and much easier if you do it in a group, but I like to take the challenge and do things solo. In Orgrimmar, it's not that tough. Pretty much, you always want to just camo past all of this first stuff. It really doesn't matter if you want to fight them or not, but why waste the sanity? Just run past them all and go up to the first section. There was one thing I didn't do straight off the bat, was I didn't check which potion was good, and I didn't have the weak auras up that I normally run with to help me find out what's going to be good. The first, in this dungeon, in Orgrimmar, the note is actually in the first hut on the right, and that the potion that's next to the note will tell you what's bad. And if you've got the weak auras, which I'll link in the description, that will actually then outline all the potions. So when you're doing a 5-mask, you really want to make sure that you are playing sensibly. So you're going to have all of these different debuffs and stuff like the pulls under your feet. The biggest thing is try not to move around as much. Now, when we have the fire, what I like to do is as soon as I see the fire, I start to move either to the left or the right, because I want it to push me in a direction that I want to go. So even like right there, I knew that was going to start burning up, and I didn't want to stand in the fire. Anything you can do to minimize your sanity loss in a 5-mask is super important. It's just super important. When you get into this phase, I just make sure I'm at a distance, or as much distance I can get, and I line myself up along the pathway when you got the fire boost, jump, debuff, whatever you want to call it, and that way I'm not ending up in like the the marsh and the down in underneath the, what do you call it? I'm lost for words now. It's just running like along with the video is tough. Yeah, so I don't want to land up in the water there. So when you see the fire coming up, try and either start moving towards the direction you want to go in, or line yourself up in a path that's not going to at least to screw you over. That was a bit unfortunate because the fire landed on the totem, but it's all good. The biggest thing is with these, you want to make sure your pet's doing most of the work, so that way you can focus on healing your pet while they're gaining most of the threat, and you can sit back, because a lot of these can actually screw you over as far as sanity loss. I know some of them will actually like stun you down, and then you're locked, and it's nuts. And when you're doing a 5-mask, like their health is higher, they hit harder, and you're going to get much higher sanity reduction, which sucks. So the biggest thing that I tried to do was trying to keep my distance without moving too much. And why I don't want to move too much, because I don't want to keep, every time you move, you drop a puddle. And in the next section, which I'll go through, is you're going to have these, mirror images of yourself that go around you, and if you touch one of them, you get disoriented. Now, the downside to that is when you're disoriented, you're moving, and you'll actually drop a ton of puddles underneath you. So this is where you don't want to get caught in a whole pool of sanity loss puddles. But yeah, it's not too bad. But what I don't want to do, and here's the main thing, right? We've got a couple of different tiers in our Titanic research, and the biggest one is when you die. Okay, so this was bad. I actually landed on the thing from beyond and knocked me right into the fire, so that was a bit of a bad spell right there. So what we don't want to do is we do not want to use our resurrection, whatever happens. So when you die for the first time, if you've researched it, you won't actually die. You'll actually respawn with full sanity and everything. So that is super important to keep for Rexxar. Rexxar, in my opinion, is actually much harder than Thrall, in my opinion. When I say harder, because he has all his minions and traps and everything like that, it can be more overwhelming. And with Thrall, it's not that bad. You can actually just see what he's about to do and just move away from it. So we want to make sure that we keep that for him. And try and keep the orbs. Try not to use the orbs as much as possible. In this run, I was a bit unlucky because I got caught a lot, especially in this section, which then sort of put me on the back foot for the run. And I had to then go and use an orb when I didn't really want to. Plus, because I didn't check the potions, I then wasn't really sure which potion was which, so I was sort of winging it through this run. So it was kind of sloppy in my opinion. But yeah, so that first bit is pretty easy. Now coming into the second part, this area is pretty much similar to the other one in respect to just get your pets to do the work. All you're really trying to achieve here is just massive cleaves. But this can be achieved if you keep your pets. So like, normally what I do is I let my pets run in first, even if I don't have misdirect. See right now, one of the things you want to make sure you do is kick that Touch of Abyss, because that can actually destroy you if you're not careful. So make sure you make them your priority. Send your pets to them, or you give them either trap or you pet stun just before they go and do it. Kick it, whatever you can do. But that's what can actually screw you up when you're doing a 5 mask. So keep an eye on that. Biggest thing in this section is make sure you've got your cooldowns, and try not to use your cooldowns. Like if you've got rapid reload, that's fine, because then you can actually use your Aspect of the Wild more for these packs. Because if you don't, then you won't have your aspect for the end boss in this section, which can actually be pretty tough because he's got a lot of stuns, a lot of ads come out, and they can actually ruin your day. The good thing is I was actually quite pleased because I actually hadn't used an orb when I thought I was going to, because I lost a lot of sanity back in the other section. I thought I was actually going to get screwed. So just right here, see how I got disoriented and it's dropping a lot of the pulls around me, and see how much sanity I lost because of that? Those were some just silly mistakes, and I could have done it much cleaner. This pack is great. I always save my Iris for this pack here, just to cleave it down, so I can get to the next boss, the next elite, to get my sanity back up. And that's all I was really interested in at the moment. And once again, a bad position because of the mirror images around me. So with this guy, now I want you to take note too, is when you're in combat, you'll start to get the slow on you, which is like the freezing slow or whatever. To combat this, what I do is I just sort of move, tap it and tap it and tap it, just to keep myself below the slow limit, because this guy just spits a whole bunch of crap. You can, if you've got post haste, you can disengage out of this, which will bring it down, which is fine. But try and be tactful in the way that you move and stuff. I'm not really worried about mementos in this run. I literally just wanted to get some footage to show you how I did a 5 mask solo. And the next video I'm going to do is not just how to do a 5 mask, it's also going to be where all the chests are, how to get the most mementos, where the secret locations are, what about the potions, weak auras, and we'll get into all that. That position there, I was actually furious because I saw the things coming up, the mirror images, and I still ran into them, so I was heaps salty right there. I think at this point is where I decide to use my first orb, purely because what I think is if I get past the second section, I've still got my orbs up. I don't want to risk losing the run. My biggest thing is I don't want to use my resurrection before I get to Rexxar. That is my main goal, because if I've got it while I get to Rexxar, then I can just go nuts without worrying. I don't have to worry about the ads, I don't have to worry about that. I can just tunnel Rexxar and just get him down. These things are annoying, these tentacles, they keep going down super fast, so the best thing I do with these guys is just stun them, and that way you can burn them down. Look, you do what you want to do, but I just stun them, and where it just makes it a lot easier. When you're doing the 5 mask too, once you get below 50% sanity, you start spawning these idiots, and they come out of nowhere. And one of them, I think, Rexxar. Yeah, I think Rexxar, I had one spawn right next to me, and it really screwed me out. Now, when you drop orbs, okay, this is super important. When you drop orbs, don't fill up your sanity bar and run away, okay? Drop your orb, stand in the orb, and pull the next pack. Because why waste a full orb when you could just stand there and get that sanity? Even if you've got ads on you still smacking you around, stand there and just face tank it until the orb drops, because you're still going to get that renewal. So with these guys, with the elites in here, they're not too bad because they don't really, if you control your pet on them, pretty well, then it's just literally just burn and churn and move on, really. So there's nothing real specific about the elites in this section. Now with this boss here, he can be an absolute pain, especially because with the 5 masks you've got the extra debuffs, buffs, all this other crap going on. Make sure that you stand on the road here. Now why I stand on the road is because then I can line myself up between the giant shadow orbs that come out, and I can move out of that thing. But then again, I just end up running into a mirror image and screw myself up. But the point I'm trying to get is, see the orbs that are coming out? This gives you a much better chance to stay out of their range. What happens is they stun you. Unfortunately, I moved out of the orb, but got into that stupid beam thing that he does. But the point, oh yeah. I'm just watching this back, and it's just, I just remember how frustrated I was in this fight because I couldn't get my pets off the boss in time to get all these guys off me, and I'm thinking, oh no, this is it, I'm gonna have to use my res here. But it turned out alright. One of the other things is I mainly take a spirit beast for this run, for the whole run, until I get to Thrall at the end, because I want the hero. And the reason why I take my tank pet is because we get more health. It keeps you more, keeps you a little bit tankier. I got stunned here because of the buff that I took earlier. And when you take buffs in any sort of horrific vision, when they expire, they can actually stun you, slow you. So one, they are great, but they are also horrible at the same time. This section is not too bad. Once again, they're all pretty much similar. The biggest thing is you want to control where you're getting spat in this section. What I mean by that is with the fire. Try not to get shot down to other ads, because the last thing you want to do, especially here, by the way, when he does that beam, just feign death it and you'll stop doing it, because that can actually start draining you pretty hard, or it can push you, depending on where you are, it could push you straight through the dark, I call it the dark wall, which can start draining you much faster. So like I said, you don't want to be dropping the fire in places where you need it. So like here, you want to make sure that you're not jumping too far down the way to pull extra adds. You don't want to be dropping it in front of the door where you're about to go and get like the teleporter and stuff like that. Just be careful. That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at here. So once again, I actually this part I remember because my kick was on cooldown and I didn't get my pet stun off in time. So the only thing you can do is you can just get your pets to start attacking them, like if you do get stunned. And another thing too, I didn't have my because I was mucking around with my action bars, I didn't actually have every man for himself on my bars, which was also quite annoying. And these are the things I normally do, whether it's arenas or mythics or anything like that. I like to record my sessions and just watch them back, and I note down the things that I did wrong and the things I did right, so that way I can focus focus them on the next run. So it's pretty much the mechanics for the whole of these realms are very much the same. The biggest things for the 5 masks that changes are all the debuffs that come with you. But as long as you're keeping your pets in check, keeping the misdirect up, you're just watching where you're going, and that you'll be fine. Now, yes, of course, if you're higher eye level, it's going to be a little bit easier because you can kill things quicker. But you can do this on a lower eye level. I first did it when I was about 455 or something like that. It took me a long time, but I had the research up and stuff like that, and it took me a few goes, but I still ended up getting it. But yeah, I really like this because it is a challenge. I'm not really a big fan of just running random dungeons all the time and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like high mythic keys, because yes, they are a challenge, but I like doing things solo, like when we did the which one was it, when I was going to get I can't remember the name of the rare pet with the spears in them, the one that I've got right out with me. For the life of me, I can't remember the name. But yeah, that was a challenge. I love that. I loved doing running like mythics solo to just see how far I can get, and you really get to learn about your class when you do things like that. Plus, I just love the extra challenge. So This one down, when we get to this boss here, nothing too crazy. What I like to do, the best thing I like to do with this guy is just do circles around him. 2 reasons. one, I keep all of the pools of crap behind me. I keep the fire in check, and I stay out of his stupid orb thing, the void crap that he sends out at you. Yes, I'm not very descriptive in what I'm saying, but that's not really the point. But so what I'm trying to get at is just keep moving and keep... The best thing about a BM, and this is what I love about BM hunters, is 1, we're a range class, but 2, we have no downtime due to casting. Nothing. It's just we can just keep on the move and pump out as much damage as possible. So if you do this, you won't get caught in his like the void torrent that he does, and you'll be good to go. So between here and here, you just want to run to the next section, and if you're low on sanity, don't worry, because the next section has Misha. And what I like to do is stay in this hall and pull the guys into this hall, because what I can do from here is you can actually line of sight a few. So he's about to do his crap, you just line of sight it and you're good to go. And then don't do what I just did, because this also really pissed me off. But yeah, if you bring them in here, you can actually slow them at the entrance, you can control them better. If you've got binding shot, you can bind them all at the door, and you have more control over what happens in the fights. Now, what I'm trying to get at here as well is, if you're out in the courtyard there's chances are that you might actually pull other, if your pets run off somewhere else, you might pull other mobs unexpectedly, and that will also ruin your run. And this all comes down to protecting your sanity, because not only will you lose sanity in the game, but it can be super frustrating when things don't go your way. Once you get out of here and you're moving through between here and Rexxar, all I can really say is just keep things tight, move, just don't kill things that you don't need to kill, okay? Now you think, well, why don't you just camo past all this stuff? And the answer to that is, most of these giant spiders have stealth detection, and they're usually positioned in a place where you can't really get around. Well, that I've seen anyway, okay? So just pretty much keep as far to the left on this side as possible. Watch out for these little bugs that spawn around here. You'll see them in the run, but that's pretty much it. Alright, so as you saw there, you can't stealth past those guys because they do see you. And now I know I'm good here because I have my resurrection, and that's why I didn't want to use an orb, and I wasn't too fast. So what I'm doing now is waiting for cooldowns to come back. Even if you're halfway, it's still fine. And what I'm actually planning to do is just tunnel Rexxar and forget about all the ads. Like, cleave them down, but just focus Rexxar. And I'm willing to sacrifice my full sanity bar here, because that will then just allow me to focus him, and that's it. Few things here, just even if you haven't done Rexxar before, you see there's traps on the floor, don't run into them, and there's a whole bunch of boars and ads and other pets that come out to help him out. Just make sure you feign death on cooldown, that way you'll take some of the heat off you and it'll go to your pet. Make sure that you have a pet heal, so it's spirit mend and pet mend or whatever it is, on your pets, and try and get from one side of the room to the other side of the room. And you can drop down. So this is where that thing from Beyond came and screwed me up. My pets weren't getting onto him as fast as I wanted to, but at this point I had already died. So right now I die and I come back with full sanity, but the problem was, look where I spawned. And you can see, I don't know if you can really see it, but my sanity was dropping fast. But yeah, as you can see, all I really want to get at is this fight can actually be pretty insane. So yeah, just as long as you've got your resurrection going and you keep moving, slowing the ads, binding shot, whatever you need to do, and keep your pet alive, because the biggest thing that will screw you over is if your pet dies. But yeah, One thing I wanted to say about these two at the front, then there's nothing really to them, but one thing I wanted to show too is I have changed to my Ferocity pet, so that way I've got the hero ability. One thing I wanted to mention too is they cast a fear, I believe. Yeah, you can kick one and then stun the other, and then by that time they come back around to fear you again, you'll have them killed. But yeah, with those two, just the reason why I'm saying that is because the last thing you want to do is run down and get feared into all the other ads over there, and then yeah. But you might also notice that, see that pool, that circle that's on the floor there? Make sure you stand in that whenever you can, especially in this last fight. This gives you a damage buff, and it's really going to help you out. Now, a tip here, this is what I always do. Some people might do it differently, but I wait until the boss is ready. I sneak into the corner just to the left here, and I put down an orb. Now, obviously I don't have to, but what I want to do is I've got them, I'm going to use them, and then I'm going to fight in this corner, make the ads run to me, okay, and then I cleave them straight at the beginning just to get rid of them. And the reason why I do this is because, one, they don't knock me out the door, and two, I'm fighting in the orb, still getting my sanity back up, and I can actually get rid of the ads as fast as I can while my pet's still got the full aggro on Rexxar. So as we go here, you can see that on the floor of that circle, but pretty much with Thrall is you want to make sure that you just don't stand in the crap. That's pretty much all there is to it. And if you can do that, so as he's about to do, I think it's Defiled Ground or whatever it's called, just move out of it, you'll get stunned otherwise, and when he does this, just move out of it. Very, very straightforward. The biggest thing, I guess, for most people is sanity loss. Try not to stand in any of the purple crap. I was unfortunate here, I got smacked up, but what can happen is when you get stunned, you're usually stunned in purple junk all over the floor, which can actually ruin your time. But yeah, so the biggest thing, like I said, was try and get into the corner, drop your orb so you can fight on the orb before you pull the boss. That way you've got sanity coming up, you can deal with the ads real quick whilst your pet is tanking the taking Thrall, and that way you don't really have to worry about them later on and try and get them to get cleaved down while they run around everywhere. But yeah, if you take it carefully, it's easy days. It's not as hard as what you might think, as long as you just play it carefully. And at the end of all this, you end up with a nice 470 piece of corrupted gear. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want more of these types of videos, let me know, and until next time, you keep on sniping.